Hari Om. The Atma Samyamana Yoga is a step or a stage that will be automatically set for the sadhaka, provided he comes with the clearance certificate from the previous stage, because Atma Samyamana is for Vikshep. You will qualify for correcting the Vikshep or the Chanchalya only when you have taken the first step of scraping the dark tar that is there on the crystal. The whole work is on the mind, which is in a crystal form. When the crystal is embedded in the dark tarish deposit, otherwise called as malam, so unless mala is removed, there is no question of howsoever you may try to steady the crystal, there will be no reflection happening. The reflective surface of the crystal is covered by the dirt. So the first thing to do is to remove the dirt from the crystal, clean, and then steady the shaking crystal so that a continuous, permanent stream of light can pass through. Consciousness, Chaitanyam, Atma Tattvam, Brahma, in the form of ever effulgent light, is ever present. The issue is the crystal called mind is neither steady nor clean. And this unclean mind needs to be cleaned only and only by scraping the dirt. Scraping the dirt is kriya, action in the grossest form, so it is karma yoga. The aim of karma yoga is to purify the crystal, the mind, the chitta, the antakarana, because मन मैला तन उजला बगुला कपटी अंग तासे तो कौवा भला तन मन एक ही रंग. Our situation is like the stalk, bagula. We appear to be white in color, but our minds are dark. Once the karma yoga has achieved the state of scraping the mala from the crystal called mind, then the next stage arrives, which has two components into it. Some small patchy spots may remain on the crystal. They need also to be cleaned. They are little tough stains to remove. And the unsteadiness of the crystal, which is affecting the reflection of the light, needs to be steadied. This steadying of mind or the crystal, so that it is able to appreciate into itself the totality of the effulgent light called Chaitanyam, is Atma Samyamana. It needs to be controlled, niyatavastha, niyata. It needs to be prakarshena niyate. Niyate is to take in a particular direction with a particular dheya. So Atma Samyamana is a stage that arrives only when the land that is to be used for harvesting is cleaned of all the weeds. Cleaning of weeds, shrubs from the ground, from the land, is karma yoga. Cultivation of good crop is upasana. And harvesting of the crop so that the hunger can be satiated forever is jnanam. उठो ज्ञानी खेत संभारो बह निसरेगा पानी अवधूता गगन घटा गहरानी. Kabir Maharaj says, be prepared to take the harvest because the water might flow away, the human birth may not come again. So in the Atma Sanyamana then, it presupposes Atma Parikshana, Atma Shuddhikarana, then Atma Sanyamana, and then Atma Sankramana. That is why Bhagavad Gita says, don't get waylaid by the external signs of the worship that you are doing. Just because you are a Niragni, because sannyasis do not cook their own food, they are averse to the Agni. So Niragni, if you become and it start begging the alms, doesn't mean you will become an yogi. Because by being in the world, if you are karma phala anashrita, karma phala anashritam, the vasanas shall compel you to act in a particular manner. You will be a failure in spite of your studies because of your prarabdha karma. So take this as a virechana, purgation of the vasana. But if you react to that purgation, you will be creating another vasana. This bloody hell situation, my boss, he did not allow me to go forward. You created a new vasana. In spite of your merit, your salary was not increased because of your prarabdha karma. So, karma yoga is to make the bondage of previous vasanas which have shaped the character of a person so that the bondage is little bit loosened up. Once they are loosened up, then they are easier to conquer. So with successive births, you keep reducing the effect of vasanas on the mind by stopping the bad crop and then simultaneously weeding the bad crop. Once that is happened, then one comes to the conclusion that it is my desire and desire only that is creating the problem. So he starts working on his desire because desire is the mother of thought. Thought is a bastard child born to desire, unwanted child, but we groom the child. So the only way to see that such children are not born, such desires are not born, such thoughts are not born, you need to stop at the root, mule kutharaha, by avoiding this sankalpa. Na kalpayati iti aushadham. It is the kalpayati. Sammyakena kalpayati iti sankalpaha. Sankalpa vikalpatmakaha manaha. If the sankalpa is not there, vikalpa cannot be there. If I don't want to take a cup of tea, then whether I should have it right now or after some time with milk or without milk, these are all vikalpas. The very fact that I am not going to have tea, vikalpas are gone. When sankalpa is not there, vikalpa cannot be there. And when sankalpa is not there, sankalpa vikalpatmaka manaha, that means mana will not be there. So the yogi, Bhagavan says, Pandava, yogi bhavati, kaha. Who becomes the yogi? Sanyasta sankalpo. One whose thoughts have stopped storming the bosom of the individual jiva. Why? Because they don't have the oxygen called sankalpa. ये तमन्ना है कि आजादे तमन्ना रहूं. I have a wish that I should be wishless, one Sufi says. So when you are thinking of achieving a state of sankalpa shunyata, when you are thinking, that means you are muni. Because you are a manana karta. If you are contemplating on how to stop the sankalpa, you are attempting to climb the tree, so you are aruruksha, not yet arudha, attempting to. But if you succeed in that, then you become yoga arudha. All the sankalpas are doused, shama. Now that you have climbed the tree by avoiding the sankalpa, now is the time to have a look or the vision from the top of the tree. This vision is obtained by Atma Sanyamana Yoga. Now you don't climb back again from the tree to the ground. Indriya arteshu na karmashu anushajyate. Don't get attached. And mind well, somebody may tell you which is the tree to be taken for climbing. The Shastra will do that. Upanishads will tell you what to do. The Guru might come and tell you how to do. But to do is your own responsibility. गुरु की करनी गुरु जाएगा, चेले की करनी चेला, उड़ जाएगा हंस अकेला, जग दर्शन का मेला. Kabir Maharaj says. Only self-help, you yourself are the one responsible for both elevation and depression, upward mobility and downfall. Atmana Atmanam Uddharet. I am responsible. Very jokingly, my grandfather, when I was small, he used to say that who has done the pee in your pant? It must be you. Who else? Because you were wearing it. So who is helping and who is not? It is you. Our life is wasted in blaming the situation. If my father would have been little rich, if I would have been in convent school, if I would have been in IT field, if I would have been in as a financial consultant in KPMG and this and that, sir, I would have has got no meaning, because you would get what you deserve, because it is what you created. How can you blame for the contraband that you are carrying at the customs when it is your own bag? You filled it, so you reap the benefits. Good, good, bad, bad. Up to you. Nobody had stopped you from searching who you are. Who am I? No, but I am so busy in making a savings for the new Porsche that is coming. All right, that's your choice. Atmana Atmanam Uddharet. So at the age of 7, somebody leaves and goes to Himalayas. At the age of 21, 22, being a prince of a vast kingdom with all the amenities and facilities, whose father had taken extra efforts to see that the son should not know what sorrow is. That Shuddhodana Raja's son Siddhartha went out. Atmana Atmanam Uddharet. How about us? Atmanam Avasadayet. Gurudev, we know, we keep attending satsang, we keep reading Shastra, and do precisely exactly opposite of that in our remaining 23 hours and 6 days of the week. Atmanam Avasadayet. So it is up to us. Alone to the alone, all alone, Gurudev says. What a beautiful statement. Alone to the alone, all alone. Yakla cholo re. No one comes with us. Self-effort. Yen atmana eva atmana jitaha atmanaha atma bandhuhu. If one has conquered the self by the self, then for him Atman is a friend. It is right here inside me. I am supposed to search. जीव तिल माही तेल है, जीव चकमक में आग, तेरा साई तुझ में है, जाग सके तो जाग. The oil seed will not go asking for the oil somewhere else. It is right inside the oil seed. So once this is clear, then Bhagavan says in Atma Samyama Yoga that you have to remember such a person who is a Jitatmanaha, Prashant, Paramatma, such a person, for him, nothing bothers. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkheshu Man Apamanayoho Samahitaha. Balanced. कर भला तो हो भला, आखिर दरवेश की सदा क्या है? The reason why he is equanimous to both the extremes in the life, this equanimity of the mind is coming from where? Because he is no more in the mind, in the vritti. हम वहां है जहां से खुद हमको हमारी खबर नहीं आती. Sufi says, I myself do not know. बुल्ला की जाना मैं हूं कौन? Because मैं was associated with ahankar. That ahankar led me to the dvaita. Now that ahankar is not there, dvaita is not there, because everything. जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, अब हरि है मैं नहीं. प्रेम गली अति साकरी तामे दो ना समाई. Because I am Hari, Hari is me. Everywhere, everything is Hari. Where is the sorrow, pain, Shita, Ushna? Because Shita is a Hari, Ushna is a Hari, Prakash is a Hari, Andhakara Tamaha iti Hari. Such a person who is a Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. The knowledge and the experience of the knowledge, anubhuti, knowing and experiencing to know, both who has done, he has already conquered the senses, vijitendriyaha. He is called yogi. Iti yogi uchyate. That is why a yogi thanks his guru and the Almighty in the words a Sufi says, मुझे बेखुदी ये तूने भली चासनी चखाई, किसी आरज़ू की दिल में नहीं अब रही समाई. There is no even desire to have Ishwara Prapti, Jnana Prapti, Atma Jnan, nothing. Everything is gone. Tamoguna, Rajoguna, forget about Satvaguna is also gone. And that is why his Samabuddhi then does not identify as a Suvruda, Ari, enemy, Mitra, Udasina, Madhyastha, Dvesha Bandhushu, Sadhushu, Papeshu, Punyeshu, everything, all of these identifications are the responses and reactions to the identifications through Nama Rupa. Tukaram Maharaj says, Bharala Ghanadata Hari Dise. He says, so dense is Hari all around, I am not able to see anything, even myself. Such a yogi, Atmanam Satatam Yunjitaha, constant dhyana. No, it is a Sahajavastha of dhyana. Rahasi Ekaki. He is a Nirashi. Nairashya is taken in a negative sense. Nirashi is a good word. Nirashecha gav didhala ammasi. Tukaram Maharaj says, I stay in a city whose name is called Nirasha. Aparigraha. When I am the only one existing, whom should I collect? What should I gather? The car, the wife, and the child is different than me, so I want to possess them. When I am the only one present in this world, whom shall I possess? Everything is possessed by me. Everything is possessed by me, so I have no possession. then such a mind which is purified, which is definitely against the senses, which doesn't have vritti in the mind, which has been cleaned, the crystal is now clean, it is steadied. Once steadied, a new anubhuti comes that the light is coming inside the crystal. The anubhava which has not been taken by the sadhaka so far. So far his anubhava was related to the external world. Now the internal pravas, antar pravas is giving the internal dimension of the travel. The travel is pristine pure. And it starts unfolding the higher and the higher and the higher level of consciousness. This higher flights of consciousness, to get that, yogi is so keen to get this that he chooses shuchau deshe, a clean spot, pratishtaya, sthiram asanam. Why? Now kala itself is going to become irrelevant. So this upadhi called sharira, it may not last longer. So it has to be steadied by specific effort. And when you steady this, keeping your asana in a sthira position, not very high, na ati utshrittam, na nichaha, ati nichaha, taking some softer cushions down below so that you are not troubled by any crawling creature, because you don't want any vyuthana to happen. Now is the final ascent on the Mount Everest. You don't want even a small stone to slip under the feet so that you might come down. That should not happen. And that is why Atma Vishuddhaye, now it is pointing towards the Sanyama. Patanjali Maharaja's Sanyama. Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi, together bundled is called Sanyama. Atma Vishuddhaye, Ekagramana Krutva, Ekam Agre Asit, Ekagramana Krutva, Yat Chit Indriya Akriya Yunja. Bring that tamed mind, clean and purified mind, which is now behaving like a slave of yours. Put it now on one and only one. That one is your choice, what you take. Samakayam shiraha griva, kayam shiraha grivaha samaha. Body, head, neck straight. Achalam sthira sampreksha. Focus not on anything. In the ardhonmilita netra, you are focusing on a sankalpana of either saguna or saguna sakar or saguna nirakar or nirguna nirakar, depending upon your qualification. Then you go to prashanta vigata bhihi. The fear has no place. Why? You're concentrating on something where you are so involved, you don't know where your body is. Where is the question of fear? Fear means there is a thought, and there is no thought other than the thought that is being entertained as the sanyama thought. So there is no question of bhi or fear coming anywhere. Manaha sanyamya machitta yuktaha. That one ekagra ekam agre asit is the Balakrishna, the Bhagwan. Matparaha, no other goal. There is only one, the Lord. Such yogi, yunjana eva sadatmanam, always balanced in himself, niyatamanasah, controlled in mind. Where does he go? He achieves, he attains Shantim Nirvana Paramam, where the peace comes searching for the peace. That Shantim. Why? He is abiding in me, Mat Samsthanam, because I am the abode of Shanti. Naturally, such a person has very little interest in entertaining the upadhi or the material vesture called body. So he just tries to maintain it so that the role of sadhana can be performed So he doesn't eat much. Na ati ashnastu, na anashnataha, na ati ekantam, na ati swapnashila, na jagrata. No extremes of any kind. Madhyama marga. This is what Gautam Buddha advocated. Madhyama marga. We have a habit in sadhana to do certain things for extreme. From tomorrow onwards, I'll be sitting for 2 hours. And you cannot, sir, 2 hours. Your practice starts from 1 minute. Shanai, slowly, slowly. It took millions of births to come and listen to Gurudeva. Everybody will not have an opportunity to. In India, Gurudeva was born in India. He worked for the revival of Hinduism in India. He worked for revival of Bhagavad Gita. Yet, 90% of the Indians do not know Gurudeva. And there's nothing to feel bad about it. It is simple. Because the 10% who know have done enough punyam. God's name will not come in the thought process or the mind or the tongue unless you have done punyam. The very fact that you came as a honeybee towards the bees, towards the honey, is by chance. The honeybees do not go and explain the normal flies that, why are you sitting on a shit? Look, there is honey here. No. For that, you need to be in the birth of honeybee. We are at least, because of our prarabdha punya karma, know what Gurudev is. Now the process is on. It should start from yukta vihara ahara karma chesta. You should be moderate in food, movement, and action. No extremes. Extreme anger, extreme sheepishness. You are a CEO in the company, you will have to feign the anger for the purpose of the ultimate goal to be achieved. Moderate in sleep, moderate in awakeness. By that, a yogi bhavati dukkha, he slains the sorrow. If the mind is well controlled, required amount of sleep, the required cannot be 12 hours. The required cannot be 1 hour. There has to be a balance between the amount of neuronal signals that are going on in your brain. If you are too much a chintita, you will need more sleep. Because you're exhausting your creative energy of the brain into undue things. So need to control that. You're feeling lazy in the morning to read the Sanskrit or any other scripture because your food is not sattvika, it is too much in quantity. Once that is achieved, viniyata chittam atmani eva avatisthate. Controlled mind only rests in itself. Sarva kamebhyo nispruha. Sarva kamebhyo yukta iti uchyate. The one who is free from all desire is called yogi. चाह मिटी चिंता मिटी मनवा बेपरवाह, जिनको कछु नहीं चाहिए वही शहंशाह है. हाथ में तुम्बा बगल में सोटा, चारों दिशा जागिरी में, मन लागो यार फकीरी में. When that is going to happen? Every Friday morning we talk of aparigraha, and remaining 6 days and 23 hours, we talk of aggregating the things, congregating the things, parigraha, parigraha, parigraha. There is no jnana parigraha, there is vastu parigraha. Unless this changes, Atma Sanyaman will always remain a distant dream. Hari Om. Hari Om. In the continuation of the Adhyaya, the way Antakarna Vritti can be subdued has a sthula swarupa and a sukshma swarupa. The sthula swarupa is objectification of a subject. Any external independent thing creating a flutter on the pristine purity of the chitta leads to objectified vritti. The adhyaya that we are studying is about an advanced yogi who has already conquered the chitta shuddhi aspect of the sadhana. So nothing external in the form of jada or the object or the vastu would dare to intervene in his act of concentration. If by any chance, for any reason, one is able to withdraw himself from the objects outside, would that mean that when he is not in connection with the indriya gochara things, things that are sensed through the sense objects or the sense indriyas? In other words, if all the indriya gochara things have stopped giving the reactions to the mind, there is a complete cutoff from the external world because of the closure of the sense organs. In that case, the antakarana is free to have its play with its inner, invisible, yet very powerful samskara rupi smritis, which are aroused by the mind even without the absence of an actual object in front of him. This, according to Nyaya Shastra, is called ayathartha prama. This is not prama, this is aprama. Knowledge gained in absence of any object in front of you, which normally means smruti udbhava jnana, that which arises from smruti. So when the yogi, after the chitta shuddhi, decides to dedicate his mind for the sake of contemplation, then he is faced with the internal enemies, the enemies that are arising from the memory, samskara rupa, and that is too difficult a thing to resist. So the one who has even conquered the internal aspect is being described here in the 19th shloka when the Bhagavan says, Yatha deepaha nivatasya na ingate. Ingate is to flicker. Nivatasya, absence of wind. In the absence of wind, the way the flame will not flicker, in the similar manner, tadvat yoginaha yunjate. Yogi's antakarana vritti does not flicker even by the internal arousal of sensory implications in absence of even the object in front. So smruti rupa, samskara rupa, vyuthana, as it is called in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there is no diversion of thoughts even when he has already cut off from the sense organs. In such a case, because there are subtle samskaras, the analogy used by Bhagavad Gita is of vata, that is wind. Wind is invisible, yet has a power to extinguish a flame. Similarly, the hidden samskaras, even though they are not present in the obvious form, in the form of an object, a sensuous thought about a woman can generate in the mind even in absence of a woman. The impression or the samskar of the previous interaction arisen out of that which has aroused because of the previous interaction through the perception, has led to the subsequent arousal in the mind even when the object is not in front. So such a yogi, niruddha chitta uparamate, his antakarana has crossed the boundary of ekagrata. The vikshepa is the multitudinal aspect of the mind, focusing on multiple things and flitting from one place to another place. One is called asthiti, another is called chanchalya. Not able to concentrate on one place and always flitting from one object to the other object. That is the classical characteristic of the mind or the antakarana of a person who is laden with rajoguna and tamoguna. The one who has developed the sattva guna shall have the ability to concentrate or do ekagrata, and an ekagrata done over a considerable period of time then leads to what is called as a chitta niruddhata, which is described as niruddha chitta uparamate by yoga sevaya. Sevaya is practice. By repetitive practice of yoga, the yogi then enters into a state where atmana atmanam pashyan atmani tushyati. He, seeing self by self, satisfied in self. The dual aspect or the duality of the observer and the observed, since it gets dissolved, the observation is no more there. Similarly, the yogi who was practicing as sadhaka for the sadhya through the sadhana has merged all into one. So there is no sadhaka entity anymore. Sadhya is already merged in sadhaka, so the sadhana is lost. Such a yogi then, seeing the self by the self, this is called the Satchit aspect. Knowing the existence, but not through the knowledge, which is called choiceless awareness by Krishnamurti. Buddhi grayam atindriyam atyantika sukham vetti. What he gets atyantika sukham. Atyantika means every happiness in the world is sublated by another happiness. This is called atishaya or sa atishaya sukha. Sa atishaya sukham. A person with two-wheeler gets more satisfied by a four-wheeler. A person with a plane gets more satisfied than a four-wheeler. There is always a comparative analogy possible, and there is always some sukham superseding the previous sukham. This is called sa atishaya or satishaya sukham. When thus far no further bliss is obtained, which is called niratishaya sukham or atyantika sukham, this is what the yogi gets by buddhi grahyam atindriyam. Two aspects are important. One, there is a flickering moment, a transient moment in the intense pinnacle of sadhana when the yogi does feel that he is at the height of the bliss. And the feeling that he is at the height of the bliss remains only for a fraction of a second, because then he becomes the bliss. When you are becoming the bliss, then there is no way you can know the bliss, because you are the bliss. And that is what buddhi grahyam is during the phase when buddhi is still in the finest possible vritti called sukshma antakarana vritti. The buddhi is able to grapple or grasp the bliss, and immediately after that, without even realizing, yogi passes into the final frontier where he is not aware. As one Sufi says, हम वहां है जहां से हमको खुद हमारी खबर नहीं आती. And in all means, Thus, such a sukha has to be atindriya. It cannot be through senses. The five senses are completely helpless to reach that, because sendriya sukha, sukham through the sense organs, is always limited. This being atindriya, that is the reason why in sadhana, whatever is through indriya is to be shunned away, which is called vairagyam. And that is the reason why the next shloka says, Yam labdva na adhikam na aparam labham. There is nothing left beyond this. Yasmin sthito, the one who is established in this particular phase, gurunam api dukkhanam na vichalyayet. The largest or the highest of the sorrow cannot even make any difference to such a person. A death warrant issued by the ruler of Delhi against Saint Kabir. Everyone in Banaras was afraid that the king will come, the Sultan will take away Kabir and execute him. So everybody was worried, unhappy, except Kabir, because he said, it is the body that he will punish. I have nothing to do with it. Tam vidyat. If one has achieved this kind of knowledge, then tam vidyat, let it be known, dukkha sukha viyoga yoga sadnitam. The definition given of yoga in Patanjali Yoga Sutra in the second sutra is Atha Yogano Shasanam. It is the first shloka. The second one says Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Bhagavad Gita redefines the same as yoga definition by word Dukkha Sanyoga Viyoga Yoga Saudnitam. That it is an antithesis in English. That which dissolves the association of the dukkha. The tendency to get associated with the dukkham when it is dissolved, that is what is yogam. Sanishchayena yoktavyo yoga anirvin chetasa. Steady and undespairing mind. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman sarvan asheshataha tyaktva indriya gramam samantataha manasa viniyamya. Controlling the senses. Who controls the senses? The mind. Then controlling the mind. Who controls the mind? The intelligence. Buddhi krutva manasa niyata. Manasa krutva indriya niyata. This is the manner in which the yogi then, till the time the mind is existing, it has to be employed, because there is no way possible to annihilate the mind unless one has decided to dedicate it to one point, to the extent that the usage of mind becomes completely hopeless and useless, which in Shastriya Paribhasha can be called as the suicide of the mind. And this is not going to happen overnight. So shanaihi, slowly, slowly, dhire, dhire, dhire re mana, dhire sab kuch hoy, mali aave 100 ghada, ritu aaye phal ho. Mali siiche 100 ghada. Even if you give hundreds of buckets of water, the flowering is going to come only in the season. तुका म्हणे तेते नाही चालत तातडी प्राप्त काळ घडी आल्या विन. Nothing is possible unless one has reached to the opportunate moment. How do you reach? Shanaihi shanaihi uparamet buddhya dhruti grahitaya. Arjuna, the only organ that you are endowed which is of some use in this world is your buddhi, nothing else. Everything else in your body is an implement. They're all executors. The one who actually propels the executors is the buddhi. Atma samstham manah krutva na kinchit api chintayet. Na kinchit api chintayet. Do not think of anything else other than what I have told you, which is your sadhya, which is your ishta devata. Concentrate to an extent where you will not be aware of anything else existing when you are concentrating. That itself is called concentration. Ekam agre asit iti ekagrata. There cannot be second. As a Sufi says, na hazar hai, na khatar hai, na raza hai, na dua hai, na khayale bandagi hai, na tamannae khudahi. That is the state where nothing is existing except the existence. Yataha yataha chanchalam asthiram manah nischarati tataha tataha niyamya atmani eva vasham nayet. To the extent the vagaries of mind, the wavering mind is controlled with nishchayaha, which is Buddhi's function. To that extent, tataha tataha niyamya atmani eva vasham nayet. Nayet is to propel. Nav, navika, the word has come from naya. Naya is to propel. To the extent the attempt has been made to control the senses from by the mind intellect, to that extent you will be propelled towards the ultimate goal. Yoginam uttamam sukham hi prashanta manasah. The happiness which is the only goal for which every single jiva in the jiva srushti is striving for. That goal of happiness is nothing else but the presence of undisturbed, pristine and pure calm or the peace of the mind that you get. Prashanta manasaha, complete subduing of the waves that are arising in the form of thoughts on the substratum, which is called as antakarana, leading to the complete absence of any rajogunatmaka or tamogunatmaka activity in the mind, is called prashanta manasa. And that mind which is at peace is the happy mind. Peace is the other side of the coin, where one side is represented by the happiness. Shanta rajasam upayeti akalmasha brahma bhutam. That is the inching towards the Brahma pada. Sada atmanam yunjanam vigata kalmasha yogi sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. He reaches to the height of the bliss, such yogi, by Sada Atmanam Yunjanam, by constantly being in the involvement through the concentration of the self or the Atman. Sukhena Brahmasvarsha. Sukhena, Sukha means easily. The Sanskrit definition of Sukham is not happiness. Sukham is anything that is easy, anything that comes as Sukha Asanam, Sukhasanam. Sukhasanam means most comfortable, easy, without any pain. So that easily the Brahma Samsparsha, the glimpse of the Brahman is fathomed by him. The glimpse, the word is used because Brahman cannot be touched upon. It is beyond the senses. That which is beyond the senses can only be experienced. Again, this experience is not through the not same as the objective experience. So that is why it is not anubhava, it is anubhuti. Anubhava and anubhuti is different. If a question is asked to the sugar that how sweet you are, she will say, I don't know. Because sugar, by having sweetness as its own criteria, does not need to taste the sweetness. A sweetness cannot taste the sweetness. A thirst cannot quench the thirst, because thirst is thirst by itself. Similar, the existence by existence itself need not prove its existence by anything else. सर्वभूतस्थ आत्मानं सर्वभूतानि आत्मनि योग युक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः इक्षते. Such a yogi who has reached to this ultimate stage then is able to see himself. First, he has seen himself as the Atman or the self. This is the one stage, as Yogi Aurobindo says, this is the penultimate stage. Knowing one's own true inner nature, getting acquainted with one's own reality residing right within, getting the taste of the nectar that is constantly flowing right within us is the recognition of your own nature. But recognizing yourself and your own nature alone is not enough. Recognizing that the same nature is existing in all that is existing outside you, which is nothing else but the Surva Bhutastha Atmanam. Same, that is what is residing in me, is residing in others. And Sarva Bhutani Atmani. The same thing is said by Kabir Maharaj as Hum Sabi Ma, Sab Hami Ma, Hum Hai Bahuri Akela. I am into everybody, everybody is in me, yet I am alone. This intriguing statement is what is described in the 29th shloka. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasya aham na pranashyati sacha me na pranashyati. Neither he can remain as a bhakta, nor I can remain as a god, because bhakta is in God, God is in bhakta, bhakta and the God are inseparable. यह एकत्वम अस्थितः सर्वभूतस्थिनं मां भजते स योगी मयि वर्तते सर्वथा वर्तमानः अपि. Once this established condition is established, then Arjuna, whatever his vartamana may be, whatever may be his life, it has nothing to do, because he is now in the sthiti where there is no skhalana anymore. He is not chutam anymore. He becomes same as me, as achuta, the one who is not skhalanashila. Atma upamyena sarvatram samam pashyati. Once this is told, Arjuna has his own doubts and he starts firing the final frontiers of doubts in meditation. Madhusudana, tvaya prokta yoga aham chanchalatvat na pashyami sthiram. I understand what you are saying, Bhagavan, but I am doubtful whether the state of having this complete withdrawal from outside activities of mind and focused on only one, can the state be maintained for a long time? I'm doubtful. The reason for it is Manaha Chanchalam Krishna, Pramathi Balvat Drudham. This mind is Pramathi, turbulent always, strong, unyielding. Tasya Nigraham Aham Manye Vayu Iva Dushkaram. Can you control the wind which is blowing at the stormy speed? You cannot. Mind is something similar, Krishna. How do you expect me to control the mind? And then Bhagavan says, agreed, asamshaya. Agreed with you, Arjuna. Yes, mind is difficult to control, but not impossible, because those who have inculcated the virtues to tackle the impossible, having the mighty arms, they are called Mahabaho. Asamshaya Mahabaho, Manah Durnigraham Chalam. It is very difficult to control. However, Abhyasena tu Kaunteya, Vairagyena cha Gruhyate. The maximum takeaway of this particular adhyaya is this one shlok line. Abhyasena tu Kaunteya. Abhyasena. There are two directions in which the sadhaka has to stretch himself. One is to tyaja, abandon. One is to obtain and achieve. Vairagyam is vairagyena vishayastotra khilikriyate. That means Vairagyena Vishayastrota. All the Vishayas are made weak and weak and weak by Vairagya. So that is what is Tyajate. That side which you are supposed to leave, Vairagya helps. Side where we are supposed to move forward is called Viveka. Vairagyena Vishayastrotra Khilikriyate. Viveka Darshan Abhyasena Viveka Strota Udghatyayet. This we find in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra on first adhyaya, the sadhana pada, on the samadhi pada, 12th sutra. Abhyasan, Vairagya. So constant endeavor of avoiding that which is detrimental for my spiritual progress is done by the Vairagya, and a constant endeavor to move towards the understanding of the self is Viveka, which is done by Abhyasa. Again Arjuna doubts. Shraddhaya upeto yoga chalita manasaha. Aprapya yoga samsiddhi kangati gacchati. In case, Bhagavan, I try for all this and suddenly my death comes, what happens to me then? All my practice in this particular birth of mine, whatever I did, it is going to be completely washed. And am I going to restart again from the scratch? The answer given by Bhagavan is not at all so. As Gurudeva gives explanation, that if the subject is studied earlier in the previous birth, there can only be recapitulation or revision in the next birth. There is no need to start the subject right away. And that is why this is a great assurance given by Bhagavan. Na eva yah amutra vinashasyasta vidyate nahi kalyana krut kaschit durgati gacchati. Anything that is done for the sake of realization will never go waste. Even if it is a compulsive presence in a satsang, even if it is a compulsive presence in a temple, even if it is compulsive meditation, even if it is compulsive repetition of God, nothing will go waste. It will yield the result. The extent of the result will depend upon what is being dedicated. That is why tatra tam buddhi sanyoga purva daihikam labate yatate cha tato bhuyaha. Arjuna, tatra tam buddhi sanyogam purvadehikam. Whatever you have done in your past births or past many births shall propel you forward in this birth to achieve or move towards that goal. Purvabhyasena riyate hi avashaha api jidnyasu api. And then the Bhagavan in the last shloka says, tapasvibhyaha adhikaha yogi, jnanibhyaha adhikaha yogi, karmibhyaha adhikaha yogi, tasmat yogi bhava arjuna. First do karma for the sake of chitta shuddhi, then take paroksha jnana for the sake of shastra krupa, then do tapasa for the sake of austerity in the form of karchru, mahakarchru or chandrayana vrata or any vrata or fasting. But all this ultimately is to reach a stage called yogi. That is why Arjuna, do not stop being karma yogi, do not stop being tapasvi, do not stop being paroksha jnani. Become a yogi. Hari Om.